I'll soon be turning 70. Yes, another milestone passed. And this one comes with some harsh realities. According to Australian life expectancy figures, a woman who has already reached 70 can expect an average of another 18.44 years of life remaining. That takes her to around 88 years old. There was an old familiar figure of around 85 years for life expectancy. That was from birth. But if you've made it to 70, yay me and yay all of you. Well done. Your remaining life expectancy is actually higher than the number you used to hear. That works out to roughly 7,600 days left. Wow. When you think about it like that, it can really stop you in your tracks. I'm going to be brutally honest. This isn't really easy to acknowledge either. As the saying goes, I've got more years behind me than ahead of me. And another reality is that once you get past a certain age, society starts putting you into a completely different category. In Australia, they have something that you might not have heard of, because I didn't know it until recently. They have something that they call the Clinical Frailty Scale. It scores you from 1 to 9, with being very fit and 9 being terminally ill. Not every Australian over 65 is given this frailty score. It's more of a clinical assessment tool used in parts of the health and aged care system. And I'm not saying that being over 65 means you're frail. Far from it. But it is interesting that as we get older, this sort of language starts appearing around us. Frailty, aged care, senior, pensioner. Words we probably didn't think had anything to do with us once upon a time. For decades, 65 was regarded as the traditional pension age in Australia. Women actually used to qualify younger than men back then. The qualifying age for women started at around 60 and was gradually increased until it reached 65 in 2013. Then from 2017, the pension age started increasing for both women and men. By 2023, you had to be 67 to qualify for the age pension. And of course, one of the reasons that they've pushed it forward is that, the good news, people are living longer. And I'm sure that the government likes to save a bit of money, probably, and that doesn't hurt them. But for years, 65 was the age. You got to 65 and you were a pensioner, maybe an old pensioner. And there's something about that word. Back in the day, people called it the old age pension. It still is. It's not the mature pension. It's not the seniors pension. It's the old age pension. Those words stick. And I think society listens. That's how people over a certain age have traditionally been seen. Of course, there are some advantages in this. If you receive the age pension in Australia, you get a pensioner concession card. And that can give you cheaper health care, medicines, and concessions, rebates on things like utilities, your council rates, your water rates, your public transport, and your motor vehicle rego. And financially, that actually is a big help. Hey guys, I've noticed that some of you are watching, but you're not subscribing. If you're enjoying my honest chats about growing older, solo living, and the reality of this stage of life, please think about subscribing. I'd just love to have you come on board. But another harsh reality of getting older is the way society values youth. And I think our society massively overvalues youth. But that's not true in every society. In many cultures, elders are still considered vital members of the community. Their experiences count for something. Their knowledge counts for something. But I think in our society, there can be this sense that once you've got past a certain age, you've had your turn. And you notice this particularly when it comes to work. We all know that it gets harder to find work as you get older. And one of the reasons I think it's difficult for older people is that we're competing with younger people who've grown up with technology. They can use computers and technology far better than any of us can. Most older people have been left behind to some extent. We didn't grow up in that world. It wasn't taught at our schools. I remember my kids going to school and they were learning about, well, to use computers. And even back then I thought, wow, the world's really changed, it's moving fast. Well, little did I know how fast that would be. At first, when we heard about computers, I think they were more of a novelty than a necessity. I had no idea how much this would eventually be part of practically every workplace and almost every part of our lives. And now, of course, that's probably all about to change again, because with the advent of AI, it's going to be a whole different world. I believe we're entering a brave new world, and I think we're going to see some of the biggest changes we've seen since the Industrial Revolution. So buckle up, guys. But for us oldies, I can say that it might not affect us quite as much, because a lot of us probably aren't out there looking for full-time work anymore. And fortunately, some people have skills that cannot easily be replaced. If you're a plumber, a mechanic, or an electrician, a hairdresser, or you have some other practical skill, and you want to do a bit of additional work to top up your age pension in retirement, you're probably safer than somebody looking for a job that can easily be automated. But if you're looking for a job, say in a supermarket, we're already seeing what's going on there. We see it all the time. It's predominantly self-checkout now. My local Aldi just switched over. They've only got one checkout now, where an actual person stands there and takes your money. One. The rest are self-checkout. And I wouldn't be surprised if in years to come, if cash registers, as we know them, become obsolete altogether. And I grew up using cash registers back in the day when they didn't even calculate the change for you. You had to work that out for yourself in your own head. And I spent many years building small businesses, a variety of different small businesses, mostly within the fashion industry. But I have expertise in setting up retail stores and training staff and selling and merchandising and dealing with customers and running the businesses. When I thought about whether I could actually be of use with my expertise again in today's world, I felt like a dinosaur. Everything's changed. Even retail has changed. I don't know if you've actually noticed this, but when you go into retail stores these days, customer service doesn't seem to be valued like it once was. You're lucky if you can get anyone to serve you, let alone talk to you. So there's a very different feeling, and I think as we get older, the world is moving around us. And sometimes we're trying just to keep up. Sometimes we can, and sometimes we don't want to. And sometimes we just have to accept that the skills that were once extremely valuable may not be valued quite so much anymore. Then there's the obvious one, our bodies. Our bodies change. There's no getting around that. And I don't want to spend too much time talking about, well, health matters, because I've talked about it before. But I think most of us notice that we don't recover from things quite as quickly as we used to. And now the little things start being added along the way. Some days I look at myself and I think, oh my goodness, I try hard to read something, but I've got to put the glasses on. I drive my car and I wear prescription glasses for driving now, and I also have to wear hearing aids. I can manage without them in most situations, but socially it becomes really difficult. So now I have some arthritis in my hands as well, and bursitis in different parts of my body. And like many older women, I've been diagnosed with osteoporosis. And mind you, osteoporosis and osteopenia aren't only women's issues. I know several men who've been diagnosed with osteopenia, and they've been really active people. So I'm already feeling some of the effects of getting older. And some days my body could have me feeling, well, old if I stop to think about it long enough. But I don't. I try not to. I just do what I need to do so I can keep going. And I think all of us probably find over time that these new limitations start happening to us. Some people are taking several different types of medication, but that's the reality. You adapt. You get the glasses. You get the hearing aids. You take the medication if you need it. You change the way you do things. And you keep going. But I think one of the biggest harsh realities of getting older is time. Time becomes very real. When you're younger, you can live as though there is an endless supply of time. Next year I'll do it. One day. Later. When I retire. When I have more money. When somebody comes with me. When things settle down. When life gets easier. And then you reach this age. And suddenly, those words don't quite have the same meaning anymore. Because there isn't an endless amount of later. And I don't mean that in a depressing way. I actually think there's something quite powerful about acknowledging it. Because if our time is limited, then our time becomes more valuable. Maybe that means ticking things off a bucket list. Maybe it doesn't. I've made a few videos about this because I think it's really important that people just do what feels right for them, whatever that might be. It might not look like the picture-perfect retirement. You might not be travelling around the globe, nice as it is. You might not have a calendar full of activities. You might not be out every day having some incredible adventure, and that's okay. And of course, we all have to do what we can within our budget. But there are plenty of incredible things that we can do with no money or very little money at least. You can go to the beach, walk somewhere, beautiful, sit outside with a cup of tea, watch the sunset, listen to music, call somebody and have a great chat, spend time with somebody you care about. And I think it's good to have the mindset that every day we get up is a blessing, because it really is. Don't feel pressured into doing what other people expect of you, and don't feel pressured into doing what you think you should be doing either. I think one of the gifts about getting older should be that we finally get to decide for ourselves. But I also think that we need to look at who is important in our lives. Who is really important? And I make the effort. I reach out, even if it's just a text, the crow, even if it's just a phone call, because I don't think any of us want to get further down the road and say, I wish I'd tried harder to stay connected to the people that I love. But that leads to another harsh reality. People start disappearing from our lives. I was chatting with a friend the other day, and he mentioned things that he used to do on weekends. He used to go kayaking and canoeing, and I think he mentioned bushwalking and bike riding and motorbike trips away and visiting water holes. Anyway, all sorts of amazing things. And I was listening to him and I said, you know what? The people you were doing those things with back then, they're no longer in your life. And he went, oh yes. One of them had passed away. One of them had become ill with cancer and was battling that. And a couple had just left his life because they were relationships that, well, they ended. And he said, that's the thing about getting older, isn't it? People leave. And I've had the same experiences too. We all have. We could all look back a decade ago and remember the people we were spending more time with back then, or at least the people who were in our lives back then. And some of those people, they aren't there anymore for all sorts of reasons. And from having older friends and older relatives, I know this because they tell me it happens more frequently. They tell me that. And I've read comments from people in their 80s and their 90s saying that hardly anybody is left from the world they once knew. And I can understand why people find that thought extremely difficult. The idea that you could start with all these connections, and slowly watch that circle become smaller and smaller. But I don't want to end the thought there, because I think there is something we can do about it. For some of us, it probably becomes more important than it used to be, at least, to try and make some new connections. Even if it's only 1 or 2 new connections, even if those people aren't going to become your BFFs. I think that's what we call it. Best friends forever. They don't have to be. Sometimes a new connection is simply somebody you enjoy having a coffee with, somebody you walk with, somebody you see once every couple of weeks or so, somebody you can send a message to, a text to, and say, do you feel like doing something today? And I think we have to remain open to that, because the people who are in our lives are going forward with us, may be different to the set of people from the people who were in our lives 10 or 20 years ago. Hopefully some of the same people will still be there, and hopefully there will be some new ones as well. So yes, there are harsh realities to getting older, I'm not going to deny it. There are things about it I don't particularly want to think about too much. There are things I'd probably rather not acknowledge. But I'm still here, and if those Australian life expectancy figures are anywhere near right, I might still have a life ahead of me, and so might you. So thanks for watching, guys, and I truly appreciate you spending some of your time with me, because I know time is precious as we get older. Take care of yourselves now, and I'll see you in the next one.